What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday. This title of today's video is something I used to say to my students when I was teaching college. And when I taught in this music store after I taught college, and I was teaching in a local music store here in Atlanta, where I taught my 12,000 lessons, which I realized was kind of the basis of what makes this sound great for my channel, because I taught songs in every single one of those 12,000 lessons. So you can imagine how many different songs I taught to people. But this particular story I've never told on the channel before, even though you guys know I like telling my stories. But before we do that, I'd like to thank everybody for checking out my Nuno video that I did about the new Extreme song and Nuno's guitar solo that is unbelievable. I'm going to hopefully have Nuno in for an interview here in the next month. So I'll keep you posted on that. I don't like to talk about these things beforehand, but but I've been in touch with Nuno. I've spoken to Nuno in the past one time, video chatted with him 2 years ago or so. And so hopefully we'll have him here on the channel in person. I'm running the sale another week here, the bundle sale. I have people that keep writing to me, Rick, can you extend it again? It ran out yesterday, and it's my ultimate bundle with all 4 of my courses in there for 99 bucks. That's a $436 savings. My Quick Lessons Pro, my Beato Book Interactive video with videos and audio examples that has 500 pages of things of all the. It's a music theory thing with video content, audio content, all that. Then I have my Beato Ear Training. I'm going to talk about ear training a lot more today. My ear training course, and then my beginner guitar course. Okay. Back in 1972, here we go, right? So I was in 4th grade. When I was in 4th grade, my Coach Jacoby at Northside School in Fairport, New York, which is still there, believe it or not, same place, probably looks the same inside too, or close, said, we're going to be doing the Presidential Physical Fitness Award. Okay? There are 7 events. You have to score in the 85th percentile in all of these events. This is related to the thumbnail where I hold up this patch here, which I always keep on my desk to remind me of why you can turn failures into success. And it's never too late to change the rest of your life. So those 7 events are the 600-yard run. It's kind of a random thing. The softball throw, the 50-yard dash, the standing broad jump, how many sit-ups you can do in 60 seconds, the shuttle run, which is where you run down, pick up an eraser, run back, run down again a little further, run back, run down even further, and run back. And then the last thing were pull-ups. So if you got in the 85th percentile on all these things, you got a Presidential Physical Fitness Award. You got one of these. The first one would have a 1 on it, and every time you would win one, you'd get one. But there were 2 other badges. There was the silver merit badge, the gold merit badge, and then so it was like bronze, silver, gold, right? But the Presidential Physical Fitness Award was the top award. So I go through and I start doing these events, and I was a good athlete. I could run fast. I could throw a ball. I was a great sprinter. I could do the broad jump. Anyone that's seen my jumping from my videos, I can't jump very well anymore right now, but knows that I can jump, or I used to be able to. And then the last thing are the pull-ups. So I go through, I do everything. I get up to the over the 90th percentile in every event, in every single thing. The last thing that we do are pull-ups. So Coach Jacoby takes us, and we didn't have a pull-up bar in our gym, so he lifted us up, and we hung on the brackets from the backboard, okay? He lowered the backboard. It had this long bracket, and you'd hang on to it. And I remember hanging there, and I weighed about 60 pounds when I was in 4th grade. I was super skinny. My brother Mike used to call me the Fly, because I was like I weighed nothing. And I just hung there and I just tried as hard as I could and I couldn't do one pull-up. He's like, sorry, Mr. Beato. And so I get 0% on that. But because of my score of all the other things, I got the silver merit badge, the 3rd level. So I was really crushed at this. I was embarrassed that I couldn't do any pull-ups. Other kids were, no problem, could do pull-ups, but I was really weak. So I decided, and there was no internet or anything. You didn't know how to work out or anything. Like 4th grade kids wouldn't work out. But I thought, I'm going to be able to do the pull-ups. I think you had to be able to do 8 pull-ups in order to get in the 85th percentile. And I said, I'm going to do this in the spring. You did it in the fall and in the spring each year, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. And what we used to do is you get these merit badges and you would sew them onto your shorts, your gym shorts that you wore in gym class, right? So I'd see other kids that had, the presidential awards and stuff and merit badges all over them. And I was like, I'm going to do this. So my brothers had a set of weights in the basement. And we had these dumbbells. And these dumbbells had this thing. You had to use a wrench to put them on, and they would fall apart all the time. So I would go down there every day before school, and I would do curls. It's just as many as I could. I didn't know anything about doing sets or anything. I would do curls every day, and I would do push-ups every day, okay, to strengthen my arms. That was the thing. So I did this for months. Religiously, I would do this every day before school. Come around to the spring semester, we start doing the things. We do the 600-yard run, we do the shuttle run, we do the broad jump, we do the softball throw, we do the sit-ups, everything. No problem. Getting the 90th percentile or 100th percentile for everything. And then we get to the pull-ups. And Coach Jacoby, Mr. Beato, you going to be able to do any pull-ups? I said, I think so. Now, I didn't have a pull-up bar at home, so I didn't know. Picks me up, puts me on a thing, and I did 15 pull-ups. And he couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. We had to do pull-ups like this, not reverse grip, not chin-ups, but pull-ups, right? And I got my presidential physical fitness badge. This is actually from 5th grade. This is the one I got in the fall of 5th grade. And I still have it. And I have it sitting right in front of me on my desk to remind me all the time that if you work hard at things, right? If you really put in the time, you can be successful at anything. Just about. Now, yes, there's luck involved, of course. Of course there's luck involved. But what is it? Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. Is that what it is? I think. So at this point in my life, right, 4th grade, I'm thinking like, I'm learning this lesson, this valuable lesson of that you can do this, right? You can do anything if you put your mind to it. And that was incredibly empowering thing to learn that no one really told me. My parents, they didn't know. They didn't know that I had done this or anything like that. They just, I didn't say, hey, I didn't do this. I just knew that if I practiced and worked at things, that I could be successful at them. And I always like to work at things that I was good in, I guess like anybody else. So when I was in 7th grade, in gym class, Coach Jacoby went from teaching at Northside, then he was the junior high gym teacher. And he was a great, great guy. Paul Jacoby, awesome guy. And aside, when I was a college professor at Ithaca College one time, I remember I was playing with Steve Brown. We were the 2 guitar teachers there at Ithaca. And all of a sudden I heard, Mr. Beato. And I recognized the voice. Now this is 1988. And we're talking back in the 70s. Well, Coach Jacoby was the tracks coach in high school. So 1980 I'd seen him. So it's about 7 years later. But I knew the voice. And his daughter went to Ithaca College. Now he's no longer with us. But I talked to him at the thing, and I'd become a college professor there. And it was a cool thing. And so in gym class in 7th grade, he's teaching all these different things and stuff. And I've talked about this before, but we were doing track and field, and I could jump. I played on the basketball team, so he taught us how to do the long jump. And I long jumped, I don't know, 19 feet, 18, 11, something like that in gym class in 7th grade. And he couldn't believe it, right? He just showed us how to do it. You run as fast as you can, you jump as far as you can, you land in the sand pit. And I was fast, right? And I could jump, so I did that. And so he's like, you need to go out for the 7th and 8th grade track team. So I did it. I start doing this, and I win every meet by far. In the long jump, triple jump, and I sprinted. But in the jumping events, I always won. And I would win by 5 feet, 8 feet. I mean, really. And I jumped over 20, I jumped about 21 feet in 7th or 8th grade it was. In 8th grade it was. And then I broke my ankle. You guys know the story. After summer of 8th grade, I broke my ankle. And I'm thinking, like, if I do this, I can go to college on a track scholarship, which I actually ended up doing for 1 semester. But when I got my cast on in 7th grade, that's when I started playing guitar. You guys know the story. But the thing is that I was learning the guitar. I'm sitting there, got my cast on, and I'm thinking, wow, that was the one thing I was really good in. And I'm starting to learn, and I'm starting to get really good on the guitar because I can't do anything else. And so I get my cast off after 13 weeks. So it was the beginning. It was probably the end of September or so. It was all through the summer. It was months I was in this thing. And my leg was the size of my shin. It was the size of the bones. My muscle, my calf had completely atrophied. And I actually walked with a limp for almost an entire year. And they didn't have any kind of physical therapy or anything. I didn't know it. So I actually had a weight that I tied a sock around or a rag around, and I would go like this, and I'd flex my foot up like that, hang it off the end of my bed. That's the only thing the doctor told me to do. The guy, Dr. Carrier, my bone doctor, he told me to do. Just keep doing that. That'll strengthen your leg, and you'll be able. But I walked with a limp. But I kept practicing the guitar, and I realized that I was even better on the guitar, and and that started me on this thing to becoming a better musician. But why was I good on the guitar? Because I practiced all the time. And the other thing was because I worked on my ear, okay? When I talk about ear training being important, that is the single most important thing of my success here on YouTube. My success in music is my ear. I learned how to read. I did not read very well when I was playing the cello and the bass before I started the guitar. As a matter of fact, I didn't read well until I got into college. I read well on the bass. I read okay, but on the guitar, it's very hard to read. Any guitar player knows it's difficult to read. And I didn't read because I didn't need to because I used my ear all the time. So, and I never took piano lessons or anything. Every instrument after that I taught myself. I taught myself the guitar. I took guitar lessons later after I taught myself how to play by ear. I taught myself the piano. I've never had a piano lesson. I've never had a drum lesson. I had bass lessons, but these taking advantage, and we didn't have any materials to learn from other than other people, right? Teachers. Finally, when I started taking guitar lessons, the first guitar lesson I had, this guy, Mark Minetta, I showed up for my lesson. I was taking lessons with Tom Rizzo, whose yard I mowed, and Mark Minetta taught me this thing called Donna Lee. I've mentioned this before on here. It's a Charlie Parker tune. Taught me in the lobby before I went in for my lesson. And he couldn't believe that I could figure it out by memory or from listening to it, right? So because there was no tab or anything like that back then, having a great ear was everything. The people that were the best musicians had the best ears. Nowadays, because of things like YouTube, because you can learn anything by watching it, people learn through their eyes and they don't learn through their ears. Okay? But developing your ear is the best thing you can possibly do. and develop. There are two parts to this. It's not just recognizing things. I talk about this every week. What is major? What is minor? You know, is it an add nine? Is it a sus two? Relationships of one note to the next. I talked about this last week. My son, he can hear any note. He knows what it is. He can go play it. If he hears any little thing, he can. It says my thing is my chat. I'm cutting out. Hold on here. I'm going to do this. Give me a second here. If I do this, let's see if this works here. This should go. This should fix it. Just refresh your thing. Refresh the feed, everybody. Okay. So I turned off my Wi-Fi there. Now it's on. It should fix it here in 1 second. Okay, it's working again now. Okay, so anyhow, being able to recognize this stuff by ear, right, goes beyond everything. For example, it's not just the guitar. It's not the piano. How to tune a snare drum. How to tune any instrument. How to sing in tune. All of this stuff is directly related to having a good ear. Okay, and the more defined your ear is, and the more you're able to listen to something. I do this thing with the kids every day. I did it with. I said to Layla earlier. I said, Layla, pick a song and sing me the first thing. Just think of it. Layla doesn't have perfect pitch. I said, think of this, of the sound of it in your head and sing it. And then she goes, I'm going to sing City Nights, Alan Holdsworth. Okay. Layla's 10, right? So na, 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 na. And she sings it. In my mind, that's the right key. But as you age, your pitch reference goes down slightly, and your perception of what the pitch is a lot of times will drop by a half step. Okay, so anyways, this is a really great thing to do every day to work on, is to test your pitch memory. Okay, beyond buying my ear training course and learning these things and going through step by step, learning intervals, learning the sounds of chords, chord progressions, recognizing a dominant chord from a minor seventh chord, from a major chord, or learning a melody by ear just by the intervals. This is fascinating. When I interviewed Keith Jarrett, now Keith has perfect pitch, and I said, Keith, I mentioned Antonio Carlos Jobim, and if you haven't watched that video, you should definitely watch it. And Keith, he says, yes, I love Desafinato. Desafinato is an incredibly hard Antonio Carlos Jobim, the great Brazilian composer. Incredibly hard song. And he just sounded it out perfectly with the harmonization by ear. Of course, he's Keith Jarrett, one of the greatest musicians that's ever lived. But Keith, you still have to hear it in your head and translate it onto the instrument. And that is really that's the key to this stuff, right? It's the constant practice of it. Ear training is a lifelong thing that you practice. Since everyone loses perfect pitch eventually, if you have perfect pitch, if you're lucky, 1 in the 10, if you're one in 10,000 people that have perfect pitch, you will eventually learn. David, there you go. You will eventually lose your perfect pitch. It just goes away. Okay. That's why learning intervals and studying that is incredibly important. The disciplined study of anything. And it's never too late to improve your ear. People write to me, Rick, I'm 72 years old. Can I improve my ear? Of course you can. Absolutely. Can I learn how to play the guitar? I've always wanted to know. Yes. That's why I created my beginner guitar course, for people to learn the guitar at any age. You don't have to be 9 years old. You don't have to be 15. You can be 75. You can be 90. My dear friend Peter Smart, that passed away last year, he was constantly working on his playing. Peter was always telling me things that he was working on. He'd work on chord melodies. He'd work on reading every day. We would get on and FaceTime. I talked to Peter once every 2 weeks or so, and he was constantly working. He was 91 when he passed away. I met Peter when I started my channel in 2016, and we video chatted all the time. And he was constantly working out. He was constantly working on his playing. He was working on his ear, working on his chops, learning arpeggios, practicing over chord changes, all that kind of stuff. Now, all of these things that I'm talking about are covered in all my courses. Okay, I don't want this to be, like people are always asking me, Rick, what are in the courses? Okay, I'll just read it, and then this will be my ad for today, right? My Beato Book Interactive has hundreds of audio examples. It's a music theory text, right? Hundreds of audio. It's a digital course. Dozens of video lectures to clarify important music theory concepts. It has a 500-page digital textbook instruction. It also has guitar stuff, tablature, has Guitar Pro files in it. My ear training course has 80 video lessons, has hundreds of interactive training modules, right? Going over chord progressions, going over intervals, doing stuff. You guys, if you've ever seen me do this thing where I sing different intervals, all related to one, or sounding out melodies, things like that. And then it has a 27-page PDF bundle with it, right? And the thing, that's all the theory that's associated with it, because ear training and theory are the same thing. You have to know what you call the things that you hear. If you hear a minor chord, you got to know that's a minor chord, and you say it's a minor chord. You don't have to know that it's C minor, but you know, if you study the theory, that C minor is C, E flat, G, okay? My beginner guitar course is just that. It's got 28 video lessons, 5 hours of content. And it starts from bare bones beginner, how to hold the guitar, how to hold the pick. And then my Quick Lessons Pro course is 5 hours of video. And it's got music notation, things like that, but it's really more sophisticated. It's more of like an intermediate guitar course. So that's what's in my courses. But this whole idea of it's never too late to change the rest of your life. I did an interview this week. This is what kind of brought this on. And a guy, Scott, that has a podcast called Second Acts, interviewed me about becoming successful at something in my 50s. And I talked about this, about, starting my YouTube channel at 54. I'm going to be 61 next month. And when I started it, I didn't think it would be successful. Who thinks they're going to be successful? I had 47 subscribers when I started June 8th of 2016. I had 100,000 subscribers July 4th. Actually, on July 4th, I hit at 10 o'clock in the morning of 2017. And then on from there, in August 16th, I believe it was, of 2019, I hit 1 million subscribers. And on from there, right? And one of my dear friends, Ward Carroll, is a YouTuber. He's a musician friend of mine, but he has a military aviation channel. But I met Ward through music, and I convinced him to start his channel. He had a trending video this week, and so did I on the same day. We were in the top trending of YouTube with my Nuno video and his video of this week. And I told Ward a couple years ago he should start a YouTube channel, because Ward is a super smart guy, and he's got a successful channel. He's zeroing in on 400,000 subscribers. S. Meyer says, Rick, which course out of the bundle should someone start with? You can start with whatever thing you're the worst at, okay? That's the thing, is that whatever you need help in, you start on, right? That's the thing, if you started my Beato Book Interactive and you're like, I know the circle of fifths, I know this, I know that, I'm not very good on modes. Well, just go to the mode part and click on it, right? Watch the videos, beginning of the chapter, and start there. Rick, I know the modes of the major scale, but I don't know the harmonic minor scale. I don't know the melodic minor. I don't know the harmonic major. I don't know the double harmonic major. Well, start on one of those, right? Or Rick, yes, I can hear intervals, but I'm really bad at hearing whatever, added note chords, added fourths, added ninths, added sixths, whatever it is, and then you start on those. And all these things are made to be non-linear, really. You start wherever where your gaps in your knowledge base is. That's really the key to this, right? Most learning is non-linear, I think. People ask me when I prepare for my interviews, Rick, how do you prepare for your interviews? I've been preparing for them forever. When I interviewed Steve Gadd, I didn't have to go back and listen to these records that I asked Steve about, the Chick Corea records, the Chuck Mangione records, the Paul Simon records, the Ricky Lee Jones records, I didn't have to ask him about Asia. I didn't have to review Asia to ask him about that. I know these things because I've studied this for my whole life, and I've worked on these, acquiring this knowledge through hard work, honestly. And it's through hard work and interest. You have to have an interest in learning. That's the real key, is like, are you really, do you have that determination to become better? Wayne says this, your Ron Carter interview was incredible. Hearing him talk about figuring out tone in the room where he was incredible. When I talked to Ron Carter, if you haven't seen my Ron Carter, who's one of the most genius bass players, musicians, maestro Ron Carter, played with Miles in the 60s. He played on over 2,200 records. That's a lot of stuff to ask Ron about. But my first question I asked him about was, what was a Saturday night like gig-wise in New York City in 1961? And he started there. And he has an incredible memory. Ron's 85. He was 84 at the time. And he described what was going on at every club in New York City in 1961, which is unbelievable because that's 60 years ago, right? It's incredible. But then I asked Ron, how far apart did you stand on your sessions, in your Miles sessions that you did? How did they mic the bass? And Ron said, I would always be first there at the session at Rudy Van Gelder's studio in New Jersey. And he would get the bass mic'd up. Always wanted to get the prime spot for where bass sounds good in the room. That's what Wayne was talking about right there. It was fascinating, right? These are historical things to know about. How far apart did you guys stand? Did you rehearse for this? Like, Ron Carter is one of the only people. Herbie Hancock can answer it. We recently departed Wayne Shorter is gone now, right? So there's only two people that were part of Miles's quintet then. Wayne is gone. Tony Williams is gone, right? Tony Williams is gone. Miles is gone. There's just Ron and Herbie left. Ron Carter, Herbie Hancock are left from that can give you first-person accounts of what it was like in there. But Ron talked about going over on days that he had off. On Saturdays, he'd go over to Rudy's studio. If Rudy got a new mic, and he'd take his two sons with him, and they would just hang out in Rudy's studio, and they'd use the new mic and mic his bass. And they'd move it around. They tried this. They tried that. Let's move it further away. Let's put a second mic here. Let's find out where in the room. Let's move your bass back closer to the wall. Is your bass good in a corner? Ron described all this stuff. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable, right? How did you get such... And he talked about this. The bass sounds improved on records throughout the 60s. They just did. People learned how to record bass. It wasn't just jazz musicians. Rock musicians learned how to record and get more bass on records. Thank you, Marcos. Appreciate that. They just got better at it. They through experimentation. I'm going to be doing a video at Abbey Road Studios coming up, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about some of the things that the Beatles did to further recording, because back then, when the Beatles first came in, you could only put a D12, AKG D12, 4 feet from the bass drum. You couldn't close mic anything. They had rules on how you'd mic things. And the Beatles broke all these rules with George Martin and Jeff Emmerich and all the people that were working on Beatles records back then, right? It's never too late to change the rest of your life. It's never too late to change history, too. The Beatles did it. Miles Davis did it. Ron Carter did it. All it takes is the effort, right? And some luck, definitely. You know, people are like, Rick, can I start a YouTube channel and be successful? I tell them, if you can, you know, you can be successful at anything. If you want to just stick, you know, if you're really honest with yourself about what you do, if you're honest with yourself about what you do and how good your content is, you watch every video and say, is this really good? Is this as good as it can be? Is it teaching someone? Can someone take something from it? Because that's really the thing. People come back when they learn something. If you're a great storyteller, whatever it is, they will come back and watch your more videos. Okay? I never assume anybody's going to watch anything that I do. I've got to put in the work there to have you guys honor me with coming back and watching things. Tyler from Music is When. What's up, Tyler? Billy Hume, my dear friend. If you don't know Billy Hume, Freaking Out with Billy Hume, follow him on his channel, Music is When. I'm sure you know Tyler's channel, but follow Tyler if you don't. Two of my dear friends who just saw in the comment section. Somebody asked how long is the sale going on for? It'll go on until next weekend. And I'm not sure there's going to be a live stream next weekend. But anyhow, you guys are great. Don't forget about this here. I look at this every day. Presidential Physical Fitness Award. It reminds me that you got to put in the work. You can't just, you know, people say, I always tell people, the instruments don't play themselves, right? Fabio says, my biggest problem with intervals is once I hear one, my ear gets stuck in a key and I tend to get the following ones wrong. You got to practice it, Fabio. That's why you follow along with my course. And it goes sequentially through what I think, from teaching ear training, what I found were the best ways to teach people in what order they need to learn things. So anyways, you guys are amazing. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great Sunday. If you haven't seen the Nuno video, check it out. If you haven't seen my Keith Jarrett video, check that out. And you guys are unbelievable. It's and check out my Steve Gadd video. That's the other one. The unbelievable Steve Gadd. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you. Bye-bye.